Hello all, I have three things that I think LOR can do to drastically improve the game, specifically in terms of the one-on-one ranked format. Let me go through them first and then go more into depth afterwards. First is no more region restriction. Second, take away the general mana and put in a more land-based system like in Magic and now their current Project K. Lastly, card customization for ranked, just like what we have in Path of Champions. So first up, no more region restriction. To me, I understand why you're doing this, right? However, I think that just picking two champions and you have to stay within those regions, I don't like that. Because Magic, I always played with Magic, and I appreciate just the freedom you have, right? If you want cards to go well together, design them to go well together, right? Don't restrict people just by saying, hey, they're in Ionia, right? And I don't like this because even now, right, if you're trying to make these regions work, you're making a lot of duplicate cards, but you don't want them to be duplicates, right? And I'm talking about like plain units, like 2 mana 2/2, right? Every region has to have one instead of just having one, right? And if you nerf that one, you nerf all the decks, but instead you're picking and choosing, and I understand the advantages to it, but going into a rotation system because you have so many cards and so many regions, it's just silly to me. Let's take away the region restriction, offer a lot more freedom, and there's other ways you can balance that kind of system, and that is by taking away just generic mana, right? I think Hearthstone has proven that, it can work, but the play style is very odd. I think LOR is showing exactly that again. So here's my recommendation to make sure Project K is different than LOR. That's by every time you make a deck, every region gets added to your game on the side. And so what you would do is you would click like Noxus to get one influence in Noxus. And so you have cards like this where your 1 mana 1/1, for example, will cost 1 Noxus influence instead of just 1 generic mana, right? So if you have to pick and choose your deck, and so deck building is still a big thing. You can't just have a card from every single region. That means you're going to be picking influences from every single region. That's going to really limit you, and they're probably going to be low cost, right? And so throughout the game, every time you click on that region at the start of your turn, it's kind of like adding a land. You won't get mana flooded, you won't get mana screwed. So it takes away that issue that we have in Magic. It's super simple. The only complication that is coming from this is how you spend mana for cards, right? That's obviously going to be an issue, especially later in the game. But I don't think it's going to be too hard where it's like, I want to play this card, and then a UI pops up and it says, hey, how do you just click, like, this is a 4 mana spell, just click the influences you want to use to play this card. I don't think that's too difficult. It's different than Magic because you're not just making all this complicated UI tappings of lands. No, you're just clicking buttons, they gray out, they deplenish, like whatever. And I think this is how you'll get more 3-region, 4-region decks. That will make things a lot more fun, especially in the lower, get more of a fan base into it. You can do more crazy stuff. And personally, I would love to see, this is what the game developers don't want to see, but it's what I want to see, is either like someone like Yasuo, right? You run a Yasuo deck with 4 regions, right? But you only need 1 or 2 influences from all the regions, but there's an extra layer of complication there, of complexity, where you have to consider that in your strategy, but you get really good cards for these champions. You're taking added risk, but that's what makes the game fun, right? Is like benefit for that risk. And then the other way you can look at it is it won't affect generally any decks, right? It affects some of the more generic ones where they run 2 regions because they synergize really well. All this really does, in my opinion, with the first 2 things I'm suggesting, is you're getting rid of a lot of waste cards in there, and you're adding in a lot more creative potential, right? More use for these cards, and you don't have to go on a rotation system. You can keep everything there, and if you balance one thing, everything will get affected, and so it'll be more like League of Legends, where everything's on a constant turntable and fluctuating. Now let's talk about the last thing. Card customization for rank. So in Path of Champions, you have runes that or relics, that you can throw onto the cards. And I think that this would be so much fun to do in terms of rank, because now you're looking at a cards and you can boost their strength or support their weaknesses, just like in game, right? Just like Magic, just like League of Legends, where you're getting items, you're entering the game with basic runes, right? I don't care if they have like a 3-tier system where they have green, blue, purple, and that's what you're limited to, but you can put 3 greens if you want, right? Like however they want to do it, I'm open to it. But this would add so much fun to deck building, and it would also make it feel like League of Legends. I've heard Project Haze focuses that, but this would be a very different way they could do the same exact task. And these could be similar, like getting cards, right? You have to play, get them, spend essence to buy them, go through Path of Champions and earn them to play them ranked, right? Connect those two, however you guys want to do it. But this could bring in a lot more people, because now ranked is more exciting, right? You have more options in terms of your deck, and that's great. And then in your normal cards, if there's cards that you really like but you just feel like you can't play them, for example, Ancient Yeti, right? A very cool idea of a card, but how often do people actually play this? But adding something like Philosopher's Stone, when you get to draw 1 card, that could make it vastly more worth it. And then obviously summoning units, drawing cards, refreshing mana, like just how you want to scale it, I think it'd be worthwhile. So I think champions, and maybe across all your champions, you can only give 3 runes. So it's like if you run 3 and 3, you got a lot of benefit. But if you run 6 individual champions, then you're going to have to choose 1 rune for each of them, or 1 rune for 3 of them. So there's a lot of balance you can do with it. You can balance the relics, whatever you guys want to do. But the craziest idea that I'm putting forward in terms of this card customization is an idea I've had since the Ruin Nation event, which is cards can change versions. So what if you just had a soldier card? So imagine a 2 mana 1/1 soldier, right? You click into it and you can select not just skins, but the actual type of soldier it is. So imagine this 1/1 soldier, you choose the Demacian soldier, so he's a 1/2. Where a Noxus soldier, if you go that route, is a 2/1. And that's how you balance your deck. 1 card, multiple different types of units, their mana cost fluctuates as needed for that region. So you're not adding more cards, you're just adding more customizability to these cards to make it more fun. Because then what if events like Runeterra happen or Rune Nation happen, and you can make it a Ruin soldier that's a 2/2 with undead, or 3/1 with undead, right? Just so much little things that you can do, and you can reflect that onto dragons as well, where these big events happen, and now instead of having a Demacia dragon, now it's a Shadow Isles dragon to go with Viego. And so same card, just different purpose, different region, and the filtering should be able to happen where it's like, oh, you want Shadow Isles? Well, we'll put this card idea on the very top so you can see it. This would make the game, I feel like, more visually appeasing. I've been looking at Marvel Rivals a lot, clearly, if you've looked at the channel, and just these skins, you know, I just think that putting a basic skin, just like League of Legends, onto any card is worth value. But I think making a brand new card to reflect what's going on might be too much. And I think you can kind of see it. So those are what I think people can do to improve on LOR. Right now, I don't know how long it'll take to implement it, but it will be a huge change, but they need a huge change. I'll talk that more in another video, but something needs to change. Bottom line, it's not doing well. In the words of their own company, they're not hitting the marks they need to hit. So these are my ideas. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you disagree, what would you change, if anything at all? And if you don't think anything should change, let me know let me know why you like rank right now, right? I've always struggled with rank. Let me know what you think about it and why you don't think nothing should change. Okay, until next time, peace.